He's live.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Damita Chatman, and today we are over on Old National, talking about, the millage rate. Please put all phones on silent. What we're going to do tonight, I want to thank, Representative Bazemore. I want to thank the Honorable Roger Bruce, Mr. Benny Crane, and Mr. Reid for coming. And we do have guests in the audience. Thank you. What we're going to do is, and first of all, let me say, I want to thank the pastor of this house for allowing us to come in his house tonight. And we're going to have the same rules that we have over there in Sandtown. We're going to respect the man of this house. And anything get out of order, I'm going to stop it in his house. First of all, I want to thank you guys for tuning in, talking about the millage rate. What we're going to do, we're going to do something a little different. Since the moderators is not here and I told them that they didn't have to come, we're going to give the residents the opportunity to speak and ask their questions. What I'm going to ask is you do one question, and if you can come back to the mic and do another question. But don't ask all your questions at once in one sitting. I'm going to ask the residents to be respectful of the panel, and we'll be fine. My name is Damita Chatman. I'm with C.E.E.L, Citizen for Excellent Elected Leaders. I'm going to turn it over to Representative Bazemore.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Chapman. So appreciate you as C.E.E.L for offering to sponsor this town hall. I felt it necessary, and for those of you that don't know me, I think everybody may, but just in case those are watching, I'm Representative Debra Bazemore, and I serve District 69 and help with the creation of the city of South Fulton. I just want to thank you so much, because when there is an issue, C.E.E.L and Mrs. Chapman, you come to the forefront and you stand up and you give us a platform, and so that we can allow the constituents to speak and be heard. And that's what needs to happen. And just let me say this again, like I did the last time. Even though I am the chair of the delegation for the city of South Fulton, I am not representing the delegation right now. I'm representing as Representative Debra Bazemore. I am a resident of the city of South Fulton, and as I said, helped to create the city also. So I invited the gentleman that you see sitting here with me at the table. I invited them because they were instrumental in helping to create this city. And they have a good understanding of the city and its workings. And so we're going to get into that. But first, I have to apologize. I mean, we're in church, so let me first apologize. I gave out some misinformation to my friend. And I want to make sure this is really serious. People are upset about this. Instead of, in my case, spelling millage right, it was spelled incorrect. So I just want to make sure you all know that it was my fault. Okay, in my case. All right, so let's move on. I thought, a little human right now. We'll break some stuff up here. So let me explain to you how I got here and why I decided to speak out. Because you don't see me in the news. You don't see me doing press conferences. You don't see me doing this. However, I received a call from the city manager several weeks ago, who informed me that there was a proposal on the table for the city council to remove the cap off of the millage rate that is in the charter that the legislators and our team of lawyers put in there. And so it was very concerning to me because that said to me, even though they're saying, no, we're not going to raise it, then why take the cap off? And so that means my constituents, which I heard from, are very concerned that that is what's going to happen. So we're going to delve into this tonight and have a conversation about it. I'm now going to pass the mic over, or the floor over to Ben Crane, who was actually the chair of South Fulton United, the first committee on the second go round to help create this.
Thank you, Reid Bazemore. It's always a pleasure to be here. Thank you, Ms. Chatman, for sponsoring this and putting this on. It's a great opportunity to connect with the community on such a pressing issue. Let me just, and you're probably going to hear some redundancies in what we're talking about because we're passionate about the same issue, but we express our passions differently. But it was Vinnie Crane me that started the movement to create the city of South Fulton in 2013. And I took the legislation to Representative Roger Bruce, and we got moving, and we started down the path. I went to Georgia State to get the feasibility study commission, and we got that done. And we got a lot of work done, and we got the, once we got the feasibility study done, we were able to get the legislation passed out of the House. But before it was passed out of the House under the direction of Representative Roger Bruce, there was one amendment to that piece of legislation, and that was by then State Representative Sheriff Beasley. And that one amendment on that bill was to put a cap on the millage rate. And why did she want to do that? Well, she wanted to make sure the citizens in the new city didn't have to be overly concerned about runaway millage rate increases that will overburden the citizens of the city of South Fulton. That bill passed out of the House with that one amendment. Of course, that bill changed significantly once it got over to the House. Well, at that point, I rolled off of the committee, South Fulton United, and I passed the mantle to Rep. Bazemore. And she helped to marshal this along with some other significant steps. And it was a real community effort to get to the poll to vote yes. But here's what I want to tell you. Why did we feel it was necessary to do this, to even create a city? Well, it was about the money. Because when our first effort failed in 2007, we did not get access to the local option sales tax dollars. We ended up forfeiting over $300 million in local option sales tax dollars. And that went to Fulton County. They spent it any way they wanted to. Why is that important? Because we have a vision and a dream that we created our own city. Buildings wouldn't be a problem. We knew we needed them. We needed courts, jails. We needed fire, we needed city hall, all those things that we felt then, like we do now, that we need those things. We never envisioned that we would need to put, to remove the cap off of the millage rate in order to qualify. And you're going to hear testimony tonight that supports that position. There are cities around us that have caps, and they have AAA bond ratings. You'll hear more about that. But that was a little bit about the genesis of how we got here and why we did what we did to create the city of South Fulton. I felt it was important then, and my position hasn't changed. This is a great city, and it's going to be even greater. We look forward to the wonderful opportunity, the great things that's going to happen in this city as we move forward. But we need your help. On every turn, we need your help. And this is one of those times that we need you.
Good evening. My name is Reid. While yes, I was involved in the formation of the city, the one thing that I consider to be the reason why I should be here now is because I'm a citizen of this city. For those of you who don't know, first off, as Benny mentioned, every city that was formed within Fulton County since 2005 had a millage rate cap included in their charter. every city that was formed in Fulton County since 2005 had a millage rate cap built into the chart. Now, we said charter to throw it around. What you might want to do is think of the charter as the contract between we the people, those who are governed, and the people who govern, the council. This contract lays out how that relationship should operate. Again, look at your Constitution for the United States. Same thing. It lays out a contractual form, what the people should do and what the government should do. Now, part of that original contract said that the millage rate could not be raised more than 2 millage points without a vote from the people. It was put in that way. It said, yes, you have a certain millage rate you're operating under now. Because there are things that happen in life, yes, you should have the ability to modify that rate. Take it down as far as you want to, but you can only take it up 2 millage rate points without the approval of the people. Now we find ourselves in a situation where the people who are governing us are telling us they're going to change that contract fundamentally because they would have the ability to raise the millage rate however much they want to. Now, obviously, they let it be known, no, we're not trying to do that now. We're not trying to raise the millage rate now. However, anytime you come up with a plan, you need to think that plan out into the future. Do you know what's going to be happening in 2029? I don't. Do you know what's going to be happening in 2026? We don't. However, they are telling you, trust us. Take this thing off that protects you, and we're going to make sure we protect you. Now, as we're hearing that same type of rhetoric coming out of Washington, nobody is willing to accept that. Well, as Tip O'Neill said long ago, all politics are both. And we need to look at our local situation and decide if this is what we want. That's all I'm really asking for. You come to me and tell me a month before you plan to do it that you're going to do something. You don't give me an opportunity to give you any feedback, any input. And then you tell me, and trust me, I'll watch out for your best interest. No, it don't quite work. Now, I don't know what the ultimate decision will be. I'm not telling you that increasing the cap is not a good thing. I'm not telling you removing the cap isn't what we end up doing. But I am saying for you to come to me and tell me that the only option is to raise this cap without any discussion, then my response to you is no. Now, again, I have asked and I've yet to be answered with what is the reason for the haste in doing this right now. Looking at the headlines, with Powell indicating that they may be lowering the Fed rate, sounds like a reason to slow this process down. Because then all rates are going to go down. Do we know if they're definitely going to do it? No. But can we wait until September to find out? My answer is yes, we can. Or even without that. Say we set up district town halls to get input from each district as to what the citizens there think, what they feel. Hey, nobody is saying we don't need a police headquarters. Nobody is saying we don't need a fire headquarters. However, if you bought the land 2 years ago, why did you wait until the very end to figure out how to finance the police building and how to do it? I mean, these are questions that have never even been posed, or excuse me, they were posed to the council, but it was posed during public comment, which they never asked. All I'm saying is, give us the opportunity, us, we the people, to ask our questions to you, our representatives. Then let's see what we come up with as an answer. But it doesn't have to be done in a week. It doesn't have to be done in 3 weeks. As a matter of fact, why don't we wait after the election so the people who actually vote on it are the people who are in office? Just thoughts for the average citizen.
Hello, everybody. My name is Roger Bruce. I am a former state representative. As Billy mentioned, I was the one responsible for legislation to allow you to vote to decide to create the city of South Fulton. And all of us probably had different reasons for why we wanted the city to come into existence. There were a lot of things that were going on at the time. The surrounding cities were annexing the portions of unincorporated South Fulton that they were was desirable. City of Atlanta, we wanted a certain piece of it as well. The city of Atlanta has its own school system, and if they had gotten the area that they wanted, the school system was very clear that they were going to shut those schools down. They didn't need them. They had schools already in the system that were underutilized. We had a number of people that thought that they were in some of these other cities already, but they weren't. They were in unincorporated areas, and your address associated with the post office that serves you. And so even though you might have thought you were in Atlanta, you thought you were in East Point or College Park, you weren't. You were in unincorporated South Fulton County. And basically, there was no science when we put together the charter. It basically said anything that was not already in the city would now be in the city of South Fulton. And when we came up with how many districts we were going to have, it was simple. We calculated how many people were going to be in the area, how many people we wanted each person to represent, did the math, and came up with 7. And that's how we ended with 7 districts. So none of this stuff is, that complicated. What gets complicated is that we made a promise to people when they decided to create this city, that we were not going to tax it into oblivion. And while the current members of the city council are saying we're not going to raise the millage rate, we're not going to raise your taxes, we just want to have the opportunity to do it in order to be able to get financing for these buildings that we want. As was indicated, you don't have to have unlimited access to the millage rate in order to do that. We have several cities that are already in existence that have AAA rating and they have millage rate caps. And to my knowledge, unless somebody does something different, only one bank has made that demand. And if that's the only bank that's made that demand, I think we need to shop around and find some other banks that are willing to do what we need without having to raise this millage rate. We just have to be careful. And even if the current ones don't do it, then there'll be people that follow them won't do it. So, as I said the last time we met, if there's a cookie jar on the table, and I have a lid on it, and I tell you don't eat those cookies, and then I leave the room, but before I leave, I take the cap off, somebody will eat the cookies. And we just don't want that to happen. So I'm glad to be here tonight because I want to hear from everybody. But you have to be diligent in making sure that you contact whoever your city council person is and the mayor. And you let them know how you feel about all of this, because if you don't let them know, they're gonna assume that you're okay with it. And I don't think that's the case. So thank you.
Thank you so much. What we're gonna do, we're gonna, let some of the homeowners and come up to the mic and ask questions. And before they come, I got a couple questions that came over across me. And so I'm gonna ask, any of you guys can answer this question. If they don't pull this millage rate cap off, how would that affect the residents?
So if the cap is not off, then we know there's not going to be an increase. There's not going to be an increase. And I'm glad you asked that question because I don't know how many of you remember that Fulton County, who has 15 cities underneath them, which we are one, they were proposing to raise the millage rate. And what happened? Constituents, especially this lady here, went down to the county commissioners and said no. They heard them. That's the bottom line. They were allowed to speak. They were allowed to be heard. And what happened when the vote came up? They voted no. Because if Fulton County had passed an increase in millage rate, and then we have this situation and we pass a millage rate increase, where are the constituents going to be? What is going to happen? You get hit from Fulton County and from your city. Please be aware of what's going on. Please speak out. That's why I decided we have to come and talk to you all and let you talk to us. Because if you're not being allowed to speak, then, like it was said, then everybody thinks everything's okay, but we know it's not okay. Because I have constituents in this city, and I'm a constituent, and I am not happy with this.
Now, the question, yes, you sure can, Mr. Frank.
To just expand on what Bazemore said, the immediate impact on the citizens, if they don't remove the cap, is none. If they don't do anything, nothing happens. It's business as usual, but we still need those buildings. We need that fire station, well, department, we need police, we need city hall, we need municipal, we need a lot of things. They'll just have to find other means about which to pay for that stuff. We're talking about $96 million is the amount they want to borrow for 2 buildings, one here on Old National Highway. But what's at stake is, will they just raise the millage rate by 2 mil? Because they can do that without taking the cap off. So we could have that impact. But each mill is only going to generate $5 million a year. So conceivably $10 million. They're sitting on over $100 million that they can draw down on and maybe even pay one of those buildings to pay for it in full. They were contemplating paying $20 million down payment on that loan, which would have been somewhere around little over $100 million. But the short answer to your question is no immediate impact. They don't remove the cap, but it could be they could raise the rate up to 2 million, or they could do nothing and find some alternative maybe financing.
Okay, let me add to that also. So I told you we have a team of lawyers down at the Capitol. So this is one alternative that we were told, because they were mandated to cut their budget by 20%. That's an idea. Cut your budget by 20%. so that you don't have to have constituents take up that extra cost.
Good, and I'm glad, because that was the next question that I had. Homeowners was asking, why can't they cut their budget? When you were fighting for city good, did you mean for all this spending to go on, and now they want to up the millage rate?
The whole idea was that we would find serenity and security in the amount of money that we were going to be able to generate in the city of South Florida. The feasibility study was just a microcosm of what we became. Because when we did the feasibility study, we didn't have an over $200 million budget. We didn't have that much money coming in, but now we do. So we're able to reimagine what this city could do and what we could do it. I'll just remind you, Sandy Springs, about feedback here. Sandy Springs became a city in 2005. And it wasn't until recently that they expended the money to build City Hall. So, time and patience, continue to save, continue to be resourceful, continue to tighten the belt, and make sure when we do this, we're doing it responsibly. Here we are 8 years in, and we want to behave like we're 20 years in. Now, that's not to say that Sandy Springs is the high water mark or we have to follow their business model, but it just goes to show that others who opened the floodgate for creating all these cities in Fulton County, which was Sandy Springs, they're doing it a little bit differently, and we ought to be looking at best practices of what's happening around the region.
Thank you, Mr. Reid.
Yes, one thing, I guess we haven't discussed it, but this is probably a good time. The reason that they want to eradicate the millage rate cap is because we would then show an unlimited, unencumbered tax base. Now, even the gentlemen who are working to underwrite this bond proposal admitted that the city of South Fulton has excellent finances. I want to emphasize, we are in good shape financially. However, as far as creating a credit profile, that's where we are not in good shape. As all of you know, if you've gone out to buy anything on using credit, they're going to look at how well have you paid back your other bills. Okay. We have an income stream through existing taxation, which is comparable. Well, I'll use an example that, again, the underwriters use. We are in better shape than 95% of his clients. And he has municipal and county, and I think he said he has some state clients too. So we are in the top tier as far as generating revenue. All you have to do is look at the fact that our first year budget was what, $54 million? This year, our budget is $231 million. Anyway, and that's been in just 8 years. We are financially sound, but we have not left a financially sound history. All you have to do is look at the current events. We just turned in 3 years of audited statements late. 3 years of audited statements late. What happens to your credit if you show 3 years of slow payments? You have to do something on the other side to build up for that. That's what this cap removal does for the city of South Florida. It gives them an edge that had they been using best practices, we would not be. Because again, the statements did get turned in, and they are actually very sound. You know, again, if you bought land 2 years ago, why didn't you start planning for this 2 years ago?
Absolutely.
You could have started doing, making sure all those financials are turned in time. If again,
Here comes.
and even with that, why does it have to be done next? I mean, these are things that are basic questions that they could have answered and they started the process a long time ago. Because they knew our architect does not design a building overnight. For them just to do the renderings, they had to have a lead time going into that. You know, we should have used our lead time better than was done. You know, again,
Okay.
I'm not saying we don't need something. However, you need to answer some questions before we do anything.
I agree. Thank you, Mr. Hill. What we're gonna do, I'm gonna open it up to the floor and let the residents speak. I believe in, hearing from you guys. I'm gonna ask you guys, we're not gonna be here all night. Answer your question, and we're going to the end. If you have another question, you come back after everybody else has spoken. So first, we're gonna have, Mr. Reynolds raise his hand. Come up to the mic, Mr. Reynolds.
Hey, good evening. My name is Albert Reynolds, and I reside in District 7 here in the city of South Fulton. My question is, and I just want to go straight to it. It has been seen, and we know as citizens, that our tax dollars have not been used as wisely as they should have been over the years. But what we're here tonight to know is, how can we make sure that any decisions made about removing the cap have to go through the citizens as a referendum before it can take place?
And as was said earlier, people are pitching guaranteed. You have to, as citizens, you have to contact your city council person and your mayor. And you have to insist that they slow this up. And that it goes before the public for a vote. Right now, they have not reached the max on the millage rate as it exists now. They can still go up, I think it's 2 more. Is that right? Okay, so it does not have to happen now, but to ensure that it doesn't happen, you gotta do it. You have to make those phone calls, you have to go visit your city council people, and you got to have those conversations with us.
Thank you. The next resident that want to come up and say something?
While we wait on her to get to the mic, I'll also say, Roger's right, call your city council person, but like was stated at the previous meeting on this issue, call all of them, email all of them, because it's going to take more than just one vote. This year only moved if they get 4 votes. So like I mentioned at the last meeting, we need to break the internet. If this is your position that you want them to slow their roll, don't just reach out to your city council. That's one vote. It's not a weighted vote, okay? Your city council person only gets 1 vote in the way, no more than anybody else's. Blow up the email portals, all of them, including the mayor, because here's what you certainly understand. No matter what the council does, unless it is veto proof, the mayor can still veto any yeses that's rendered by the council. So if you want to stop this, hit them all.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Larry, Mr. Bruce, State Rep. Bazemore, and Mr. Reid, and Ms. Damita Chatman. My thing is, I have been watching the city for the last 8 years regarding our budgets. And I feel right now that we're in emergency because the seniors are the ones that's gonna impact the most. If our millage would have passed in Fulton, then there would have been. But then if this one, like State Rep Bazemore said, that would have been like almost 24%. And they only get paid once a month. So our citizens are stressed to the max as far as seniors. And we're all gonna be seniors one day. So it's gonna affect us all eventually. So my thing is the decision making is not short term, it's long term. And like Mr. Brooks said, we as a city now should not be removing the cap based on one vendor. That should be something that the citizens decide if they want that, not council, but the citizens are the ones that's gonna have to pay for it. They're elected officials, they have a time limit on their seat. But my thing is, I want people to understand tonight that it's about building relationships. It's about being able to manage their budgets. If our budgets are being managed for the last 8 years, we would not be in this pickle. And we're looking for some type of understanding about removing the cap. Now you want to come to us about removing the cap. And Fulton County fought 2 weeks ago to say, no, we don't have to raise the millage cap to build this jail down here. The people came out and they spoke about it. And we don't have to remove the millage cap for certain items we need. We can do partnerships like Atlanta's doing partnerships to get their stuff built in their cities. Why don't we start building these relationships with these developers and these banks and stop taxing the citizens? And that's my thought. Thank you.
I just want to say thank you, Ms. Jill Lindsay, for your comments, and you was spot on. And I want to add that to what Mr. Reid said. Down at the Capitol, when there is an issue that our constituents are concerned about, I can't even hold my phone in my hand long enough to answer my phone. You know why? Because it's being flooded with emails back to back to back to back. And it's not just, like I said, first of all, we're one city, so you don't have to go to one person. This is a city, and if we stop acting as though each district is our own little cities, then maybe we can get some more work done to unify. But if you flood the email, because if you're not being heard at open meetings, get on the phone, write an email, show up down there, despite the fact, because my job is, I believe as an elected official and as a public servant, to hear my constituents. I said this the last time. The governor is not my boss. The lieutenant governor is not my boss. The speaker of the house is not my boss. Guess how many bosses I have? Almost 60,000 constituents. And guess what? I listen to them. And I invite them to speak because they put me in the position to speak for them. I'm not speaking for Debra Bazemore, for Representative Bazemore. I'm speaking for those constituents that voted me in. So that's the position you have to take and make sure you show up and say what you want. Thank you. So, yeah.
All right, so the question I have is, if the charter says that, say reference. Oh, Rashard Spelling, the district board. If the charter says that a referendum is required, if the millage rate is raised beyond a certain point, why would home rules allow the city to remove the cap, but a referendum is required to increase the millage rate?
Thank you. Good question.
We don't know the index. And that's what this almost is going to amount to. They do have the right to to have local rule. However, whenever they're trying to rule on impacts something other than just this city, then that is no longer local rule. And as was mentioned, there are several other cities that have caps. And if they go and raise this cap on their own matter, that's going to impact the other cities too. Because if they get away with it, the other cities will probably try it as well. So it affects more than just this city. And I would argue, if I was still in the legislature, I would argue that it's not local rule. And I would get the attorneys at the Capitol, or just to get the attorneys at the Capitol to fight for the way to do it.
And we have, I have had a conversation with our team of lawyers already. And just to add to what my former colleague is saying, is that those cities that have caps, and let me just say a few of them: Tucker, Sandy Springs, Bid, and Mulberry. That's just a few. And guess what? They are respecting what that charter says, what the legislators and the lawyers put in there. They are not trying to challenge it. I hope that the city of South Fulton won't be the first to challenge.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sean. Any other resident want to speak about the millage rate? I see some that I know be on social media, so you might as well come on while you got your voice now to say what you got to say. I think that's Miss Patricia Wise. Come on to the mic. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm just coming up here to say transparency. Oh, Patricia Wise, District 7. I'm just up here to say, after everything that I've learned, about Sean and a few other people, next door and everything, that transparency and honest, open and honest communication is what is bothering a lot of us. Okay, we've learned what the cap is all about. We don't understand why they're trying to lift it. Now we understand why they're trying to lift it, but now we don't understand why it has to be lifted. With credit ratings and bond ratings, my mom always told me, if you don't have the money in the jar, you can't buy it. If we can't do it, we can't do it. Or we have to rethink what we're doing here, and I think that's what's important. And when there's something in the milk that's not clean, it's just not clean. And we really need some transparency. Open and honest. Thank you.
To her point, and I agree with her. Bottom line to this is, I think people are saying, I want them to communicate. I want them to let us know what the plan is. And to my knowledge, I have not seen a long-term plan. I'd like to see a long-term plan that looks at not only, what they're trying to do now, but do we need this, or could we put this on the campus? Can we put all these government buildings together? Can we put them on the same property? Can we go up a set out? Have we looked at all of the options and come up with a comprehensive long-term plan that says, this is how much money we're going to need to build. This is how much money we're going to need to maintain. Because once you do these buildings, you got to maintain. And we put all of those pieces together and we created a long-term plan. If we have, let's put it out so people can see it. If not, slow your roll and do it.
And to that, please. I think I can say with a great deal of assurance that no one on this panel tonight that you, not one, would be opposed to fire department. They called it real-time crime center for the police, municipal court, city hall. We're not saying we don't need those things. I think that we can say it in harmony together. That yes, we need all of those things. Well, let me just share this. I had the pleasure of being invited to a focus group around a month ago by the mayor. And the understanding that I got before I accepted this was to kind of vet this proposed millage rate. And later talked about transparency. Let me tell you how transparent this meeting was. Part of our ask when we got there was to review their document or their literature to see if the fonts were the right size, if the message was right. They had already made a decision. So it turned out that this is what we're going to do. We want you guys right here to just be, just field tested. How does this feel? What do you think? And I'll tell you this, they were amazingly surprised. It was a cross section of people, and the mayor had 7 of us in the room. He said, I want you guys to pretend for a moment that you are the council. And he put forth some questions based on the information. I mean, we were like the council, but we were like jurors, and we had to make decisions based upon the information that had been put forth to us. They put forth many scenarios. If we were to remove the cap, and if we wrote in a separate document that we would never raise the millage rate, would you approve? Everybody that would approve, raise your hand. Nobody raised their hand. Because my question is, what kind of document can you put in that could be more sacred than the charter, which you're already talking about changing? Then they came up with other scenarios. So overwhelmingly, the 7 people who participated in this robust focus group that lasted the better part of 3.5, 4 hours. It was very much like a real city council meeting that lasts almost all night. People saying no. Why? Because it didn't pass the smell test. Because they got us there for one thing, but they had already had a plan. This is how we're going to roll it out to the people. Here's the message, here's the document, how does it look, how does it feel? And so certainly I agree, it needs more transparency. The people need to be able to speak openly and clearly about their position. And 2 minutes on a city council agenda, when it's not even on the agenda for that night, to tell them that they can't speak. Why are they trying to silence the people? Now, I'm saying this not just about this issue that people want to speak about. I'm talking about any issue.
Absolutely.
Give the people, don't muzzle the people's voices.
And you said something that I was going to ask because the question came over. I had a senior moment just standing here. But let me say, what they're saying is that in these town hall meetings, the people that's speaking from the floor, the representatives, and the guest panel is sending wrong message out. And basically, you are lying.
Yeah.
That's what's out there. And so I spoke to someone and I said, no, I didn't tell a lie, but that's what they're saying. And I'm gonna say this, and someone can agree, they can talk. The understanding that was told to me, I want this to be kept quiet to after the election, but somebody leaked it out because they did not want their seats to be in jeopardy. That's what was told. Did you guys hear that, or is just we heard it?
So,
And I listen, I'm not trying to put none of y'all on the spot, but I believe in being transparency. Because see, when I leave here, I sleep real good at night. And I don't want no senior calling me and saying, we told them a field. So I want to be transparent with everybody. That's the name of the organization, holding them accountable and giving the information back to the residents.
I don't know how many of you know me, but I don't mind being put on the spot. I don't have a problem with it because I do tell the truth. If I don't know, and I've said this over the years, if I don't know, I'm not going to say. But if I do know, but I will find out. If somebody asks me, I'm gonna find out and I'm gonna give it to you, the truth of it. And I don't understand why we are adults, we are elected officials, we are constituents, why that we have been called everything but a child of God, from my understanding, and that we are not to be believed. I get my information, I think I'm a state representative, I think that's my title. And I think I have a whole team of lawyers up there and colleagues and different ones. And I get my information from them. And I give it to the constituents, the way it was given to me. I don't alter it, I don't change it. I don't call people out of their name or their character. Because we are servants of the people. So why are we attacking one another because we don't agree? We don't have to agree. But my tax dollars, let me make it plain. My tax dollars are being used and misused. That's how I feel. I can read to you, and I wasn't gonna touch this. But who knows how many P cards? Who knows how much each P card is? Who knows how many glorified AAs there are to each person? Who knows? When I said cut the budget, that bid was required to cut their budget. Why? We are one city. One. So why are we under attack for telling the truth?
Yeah.
Why? You have not heard me come out and do this ever since. I have been elected since 2016. I don't do this, but when you mess with my constituents and you mess with my money, I have a problem. I need answers. And I'm going to tell the truth. And so if you coming for me, come on. Because that's all I can do is tell the truth. And my colleague, my friends up here that helped create the city, we did not envision this. Not today. Not things that have happened before. We didn't envision this. We have to stand up at some point and speak. And we need your help. That's what I tell you about coming to Capitol. We can't do it by ourselves. We need the constituents to stand up and speak. And I'm a constituent tonight and I'm speaking the truth. And I can show the truth. That's the bottom line. I can show you the truth.
I've heard this too about being not telling the truth. And a lot of times when you don't have the right answer, but you're accusing somebody else of telling them, that's because you don't know what the heck you're doing. And it's easy to say they're not telling the truth, but if I'm not telling the truth, then just tell me what your version of the truth is. You know, I've sat through these for many, many years, and I've heard some people tell some lies, but I've also heard a lot of people, more people tell the truth. And if it is that someone comes to you and says that the truth has not been told, ask them what the truth is. And if they can't tell you, dismiss them.
Good evening. Thank you all. Thank you so very much. I didn't get a lot of city. My name is Karen Emeritus. I've spoken to. Yes, I'm. Can you get out of here? Okay. I've spoken to almost all of the council people when this subject came up because I was really concerned about it. And at the end of the day, it seems like they're very determined. They think they have the votes and they want to pass this. Now, Jim Lindsay made an excellent point that made me start thinking again about if you do something to the elders, you do it to me, and I'm really almost, I'm an elder. But they're going to be harmed the most, but we're not listening to them. So at the end of the day, since they're determined to do this, you made a statement at the first one with Ms. Chatman about what we can do about getting a lawyer, judge to put an injunction against this. I just want to know more about that because it seems like this is the way we're going, and no matter what, we still have to protect ourselves and our loved ones. This is too serious to go back and forth with the argument. I know our mayor said that he would veto it. But I think they can overrule the candidate. If they have filed. If they have filed. And so I'm looking for a resolve to this. And can I ask one question? How many cities in Fulton County have a cap that has eradicated or taken off the cap? None. We would be the only one. Not one, and that's why I said, I hope we are not the first city to try to do that. I wanted you to repeat it because there's a lot of people that I know, this has been a conversation that we have been having. Some people have not been able to come, but I know that they're looking at this. So some of the questions that they had, you all have answered, because we all know we want a police station. We want the fire building. We want improvements in our city, but we want a better way of doing it. And yes, we have to first start with taking care of our own self. We have to get our own house in order before we improve. So I thank you all. Thank you so much. And you know, I'm gonna always look up to you because when we had the same situation, it was you that came to our rescue at our CHOA, and I really appreciate you. Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Mike Shepard, recently returned resident of South Fulton County, 14 days of city of South Fulton. Glad to see coach and mentor from my young life coach Crane. Here, I heard a lot of interesting things. Moving back in, I've taken on the capacity as campaign manager for one of the candidates for District 6. I'm a lifelong politician myself, coach, you can attest to that. Here in the city making impact. My question is, and again, I've heard some very, very interesting dialogue here. I'm in total support of what I'm hearing. However, I kind of like to pull the lens back, and I have a question buried in there. But I like to pull the lens back because I believe that, and just to speak on what Mr. Bruce just said, a lot of times people aren't necessarily led to call it a lie. I just think it protects their lack of knowledge of a situation. So if I'm uninformed, if it's spoken above my head, if it's not on my level, as the people in the community say, then I have a tendency to feel threatened by it. And my reaction to a threat is going to be to purpose it as a lie, to purpose it as something that's going wrong, especially in the political climate that we're in for the past 67 years. So with that being said, my question is what are we doing to activate an understanding of these things on a humanized level that embraces the understanding of the majority of the constituents across the entirety of this city? So this is a new city. So with anything new, there's going to be a learning curve. Politicians will learn, community members will learn, activists will learn how to get out there and put that message into the community. So what are we doing to humanize the message in a way that the everyday man can understand, be inspired to act on it, and be motivated to speak up against it when it's wrong? Because right now, in walking in, I wouldn't know anything about the millage rate. I asked a simple question here about it. I threw something off against the wall and she said, you know, that's right. That's what it is. Because it's in regards to our credit worthiness as a city. So what are we doing to perpetuate that message within the community to where people can really understand how important this is and how it can impact? And just by looking at the numbers here today, it's not a message that's going to garner people to march on Rome. So that means that Rome has to go to the people and put it out. So what we doing collectively, what have we done as a city to get that message out, you know, to the far reaches, to everyone in this community so that we understand?
Okay, I can only speak for myself, and I use the example that I did this evening when I compared the charter to the contract. Because most people understand what a contract means. Two people go into an agreement and said, I'll do this and you do this. Well, we have a situation with a contract now, the charter, where the people who govern are saying, hey, I've changed this contract. Now, no matter, I had to ask several times, why? They said to get the police and fire them. Well, that's kind of disingenuous because again, you brought this plan 2 years ago. Can you bet 2 years ago you were going to build something? What did you do 2 years ago to prepare yourself to build this building? You know it's not something that you can just pull out of your back pocket and pay for. Financing is going to be necessary. They use the example where bond financing and this allows us to do that. Just so happens I used to do bonds. And I know, like your personal credit issue, a city has a personal credit issue. And if the city fails in its obligations, it negatively impacts that personal issue. I know the example. 3 years financial statements were submitted late. Absolutely, that was done. And nobody came back and said, oh, you lied. No, because they advertised the fact we thought that it would be in our financial statements for this year, this year, next year. You know, anyway, start with this. But the point is, all we can do is from our level of expertise, is speak up and speak out to people. I can't go to you and hold your hand while you type in your message, your email to the same guys. But if what I say is something that concerns you, you need to do something. See, the civil rights who help us get the jump started in the city. They basically say to the world, Black folks don't need safety, we just need an opportunity. We can be for ourselves, but we can also mess it up too. Right? Okay. I consider this an example of messing it up. Man, if I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong. Show me what I missed. Nobody has done that. Okay, this is not the first time I've publicly spoken of this. The only person who has reached out to me was the mayor. And he's the one that everybody's so saying. But he did in fact reach out. So, oh, and by the way, I know every one of the council people in person.
Are they in here today?
I know, but none of that, but I know every one of them. And again, this is the first I heard that I'm making this up. And you know, come.
We're gonna get a couple, what I'm gonna ask you now. I know we're passionate about this and we can sit here all night long and talk about this. I want you guys to keep your questions down, your answers, and Mr. Mike Venom, you can come on up. And then I got a few more and I wanna hear from you know who this is, I ain't gonna call his name out. But I wanna hear from that man, that knowledge man, you know who I'm talking about. I'm looking at you, come on, Mike. Come on.
Michael Bell, District Six. I guess I'm gonna be on a different angle. You know, when the president said, "I'm going after my enemies, I'm gonna take down DEI, this and that," he already knew what he was going to do. If you keep up with this city, particularly in the land use area, you've done that once every 5 years. You can go back in every single solitary meeting. They are changing the plan. We are changing the character area. We're moving agriculture to industrial. This is spot zoning to the max. So when we talk about they're gonna go change the charter, that doesn't surprise me one bit. We're violating the rules night and day. And so when they show you who you are, you might as well believe them. My point is, let's just get to the root. Again, right now, President, well, I need to put the troops in the cities, you know, I need to, you know, go after this and that. It's deflection. We're not talking about Epstein. We talk, well, you know, we need to get the cities to get the money for the fire, public safety. It's a deflection. And I'm gonna counter what Representative Bruce said, because I've heard the information differently. My understanding is they went to all the banks and only one bank said, yes, if you go ahead and change this cap. And my point is, why would somebody, if we were doing that great, only one bank would come back and say something for you? It's the same way as that when, you know, you got the students applying to Harvard. Everybody's got everybody's got big grades. But when they get to the essays and they look at your character and they look at your business acumen, that's the killer.
Yeah. Come on.
So right now, I hate to eliminate all the points. We're not getting rates and we're not getting financing, because all you have to do is just look at the tapes from all the council meetings and look at all the decisions that are being made. I would be terrified to give you any kind of that. And my thing is, the point of it, council and the city have got to get themselves together to where you look like you're working.
Amen.
And my point now, city just does not look worthy. And that's just disheartening, because we're not getting anywhere. This thing about us being a new city, we're not a new city, it's 8 years old, 3rd grade. And cut that out.
Thank you.
We need to get back to brass tacks and do what needs to be done. And the real root of the problem is that why is nobody giving you any financing? We just said all your numbers look great. There's something else there. That's what we need to talk about. I couldn't get it when I started out. When I first came out, they said, okay, well, you know, you don't have bad credit, you don't have any credit. What did I do? I took that 20% interest rate and went ahead and paid it to well now that I've got to where, okay, I can get a better rate. That's exactly what this city needs to do. I need us to get back to brass tacks, business acumen, and operating like professionals should be operating.
Come on.
My name is Kevin Bryan, I live in District 2. Speaking at the request of Damita Chatman. Can't let it go. So this one's tough. And he took the word out of my mouth. It's hard. Let's say you understand the business case for work. Let's say you do. Not saying I agree with it, but let's say you understand the business case of it. You remove the cap and you pay 96 million now. Or you go through some process to raise the cap. And it might take a year, 2 years. At that time, the cost of build is more expensive. Now it's 111. The disappointing thing is you don't get to ask the citizens, would you rather pay 96 million now with no cap or 111 million later with the cap? What if 85 to 90% of the citizens would rather wait the 2 years, pay the 11 million and keep the cap? The next one, is removing the cap gives us a better chance of getting a higher bond rate. Again, we don't get to ask the citizens, would you rather have no cap on a AAA bond rate or a cap and an A+ bond rate? My disappointment is that we have to grow as a city. We have to mature as a city. To your point, you didn't say it this way, but the level of civic understanding has to grow within our electorate. And this was the perfect opportunity to bring the citizens together, to educate them on what is a millage rate, the pros and cons of the cap, what it will allow us to do, what it will not allow us to do, and actually have that healthy discourse. And it's just disappointing that that's not happening. So for me, even my house, right? One person's like, hey, I'd rather wait and have I'd rather pay the 111 million and have the protection. One person's like, hey, I'd rather pay the 96 million now than pay the other 111. So if there's a business case for it, some people will understand it, but we're never going to have a conversation. And when you are a democracy and you elect 8 people to represent you, and the charter clearly says this falls into the hands of citizens, but the elected individuals almost autonomously made that decision, well, there goes your auto and autonomous. And right now, we're kicking the president for doing the exact same thing. Right? So for me, the only message I would have is if we support our city being led this way, then at the same time, we can't complain if the president leads the same way. Because to me, the way this is being handled is identical. And that's coming from somebody that understands the business case for it. You want to pay now or pay later. There's pros and cons for both. Right. Let's educate the citizens on it. And lastly, the charter is everything that these individuals have said. It's our constitution. And when you're talking about $96 million of charter change, and the folks who are going to do it have not had one town hall, not one. So my disappointment, my disheartening is the way that we're being led. And for the first time, and I'm a very neutral person, and anyone that knows me knows this, but this is the first time that I can really look and say, this is a clear failure of leadership. And it's not because of whatever choice they're going to make. It's because of the lack of transparency. And this is what I mean when I say lack of transparency and trust. It's not them as individuals. I love all of them individuals. But as a collective body, when you lead this way, it's really hard to follow. So again, it's difficult for me. My house is personally divided, but It's a shame that these are the only forums where these conversations are being.
Thank you, Kevin, and I know that Kevin was put on the spot. I know how Kevin feels. I work closely with Kevin. But I'm gonna say, and I'm saying this, for C.E.E.L organization, and I'm saying this as a taxpayer. I stand flat-footed on what I say. Leadership starts at the top. If the top of the head ain't right, the tail ain't gonna be right. And I think transparency should have taken place. It ain't what you do, it's how you do it. We can't talk about the president and we're doing the exact same thing he's doing. The only difference is, and I'm getting sick of y'all saying this, so I'm gonna say, because I know y'all gonna say it, we just doing it in the blackest city. But we doing just what the president is doing. And what I don't want to do, and I'm gonna say this because I don't want to get the homeowners in trouble and I don't want to get the representative in trouble, so I can say it. I don't want this to be used as a political tool to play the politic game with the voters. And that's what's happening. They're politicking with the voters. I need the voters to really pay attention to what's going on. Because I know when I fought for the city and stood right in this church. And I know what each one of us said about creating this city. But if you had told me 8 years ago, we'd be going down this road, I would tell folks you told a lie. And so what we need to do, and I know the elected officials is looking, and I know y'all will be some kind of mad with me, but when you come, I need you to come correct. We got to stop acting like we 8 cities. Everybody got a city. Everybody trying to outdo each other. Everybody trying to get the biggest party. Everybody trying to showboat. They're all on the taxpayer dollars. I can tell you where you can cut some of the, spit it out. Stop giving all the parties. Say it. I can fry my own chicken. Stop giving us chicken. We love chicken. Stop giving us chicken. It's a lot of stuff that we can do. But do we want to do that? So right now, I know this big old topic, they were talking about the millage rate. I'm not saying we don't need a jail and a police department. I'm not saying that. I'm saying just make sure you got your ducks in order. And I'm gonna be transparent. You know, somebody said I didn't know nothing about the millage rate in Bunnings. But I can tell you, I sure can know how to balance a checkbook. I know how to stay in my lane. Been there, done that. And if I know I can't eat but bologna and spam, I'm not gonna eat porterhouse steak every night. That's all we asking. Please stay in your lane. Let me tell you, I want to thank these people for coming. I'm gonna let them give their closing remark. But I'm going to say, you got who want to speak? Mr. Snelly's want to say something. Let me ask you before. We got some, you guys want to say something? Because this is your tax dollars. You okay? You sure? Come on, you can say something. Because I hear people saying when we go to council meetings, they don't let us speak. So I'm gonna let you talk tonight. This is my show. Thank you.
I appreciate you. I'm Jeffrey Murphy. I'm in District 1. And I just heard about this going on. And I came out just to be informed. And I hear the speakers in the room. I hear what the panel, if I'm not mistaken, is against raising the cap. I haven't really heard or
Against raising it without discussion.
okay, against raising it without discussion. And I was looking here, at least one pro. I think I heard sort of kind of one, but I don't know. So discussion is what's needed. And I would be disappointed if this is a decision that's being made without truly understanding the ramifications of it. Because it's real easy to do something and mess up something else. So that's what I would ask my council people, my mayor. And I guess we still have city attorney that could advise us on some things. I may be wrong about that, but you know, just being informed. And we are a new city. You know, we're still infant. But it's no excuse for not knowing or not finding out. You know, having a good basis for your decision. So thank you all. I appreciate your service. I appreciate the moderator for allowing me to have 2 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, everyone, this question came online from State Rep, Mr. Dawson. He asked the panel, if this panel doesn't support removing the rate cap, what charter changes does this panel envision or recommend? Thanks.
So
If this panel doesn't support removing the rate cap, what charter changes does the panel envision or recommend?
So the charter does not have to be changed. So no changes have to be made. And if I remember correctly, I remember when I did have a town hall and the representative said that the charters are holy grail and nobody should be messing with this. So, but my thing is that as it was stated, and as I stated before, Constitution of the United States of America, we've changed, amended, those things. We can vote on something, but nothing has to be changed because there are other options besides changing the charter, taking the cap off, or removing it or altering it in any way, shape, or form. So that's not necessary.
Okay, you go on, and I got 2 questions that someone sent over to the producer, and I want to get these.
I'm just gonna follow up on changing the Constitution, the chart. As Rep. Bazemore said, our US Constitution, which was the Bill of Rights, it's been amended 27 times down through the years. Here's what you have to understand though. For there to be a constitutional amendment, it has to be ratified by the majority of the states. So the people got the chance to chime in. Here is an opportunity for our city to stand up and be big boys and big girls and go to the people. And like Mike was saying, we need to zoom out and make sure people get nuggets of this. It's a lot to learn when you start talking about a constituency that's never been in a city. So learning all the nuances, what we have to do is take this information tonight and talk to your neighbor. Go on next door and share the information. We have to get people engaged. Here's the last thing I would say. When there is no leadership from the top, there will be revolt from the bottom.
Let me say this because I know we're winding up. But I had 2 questions that was texted over to me from the producer. And one of the questions, what is our city's credit rating or credit score as of today? Do anybody know? I know it, but I want to know if you know it.
I could not give you an exact rating because we have not gotten. Excuse me, sorry.
Okay, well.
I can't give you an exact one. However, the 2 gentlemen who represent the underwriters for this bond issue, they said that we would probably score out at a AA right now. Now, that was just his statement in front of open forum for the city council.
Well, that's real good. I like that. Because what I got, and I got this from an elected official, our tax score was 527. And I got that from an elected official. It was 527. So you get a tax bill, if I have a tax bill of 527, I can't hardly get a Volkswagen, a Pinto off the market without paying 25% finance highways. So what I'm gonna say, just learn to stay in line. We can work on that credit. I know you can work on it. So I'm just saying you can work on it. This is the next question.
Yeah.
If this panel does not support removing the rate cap, what charter change does this panel envision or recommend?
Yeah, that's what the.
Okay. Okay, they just answered it. I just want to be obedient and read it. So there you go. First of all, I want to thank you guys for coming. Knowledge is powerful. Knowledge is powerful. And if you don't have a seat at the table, bring a chair, sit at the table, because if not, you're gonna be the meat at the table. So what I'm telling homeowners, do your homework. I know each one of us got friends on the council, and we know how we feel, but at this point, I don't give a rat about none of them. I told them a long time ago, when it comes to my tax dollars, I don't like none of them. That's what I told them, and I stand firm on it. And they showing me that they don't like me. So we just have to do what's right by the people, because see, I don't want to be, come back in November and say, you lied. I want to thank you guys for coming tonight. We got to get out of here because we got an important forum tomorrow night, and that's the mayor's forum at Decision Point in Santana. And so I want to get home and rest up and get ready for that. But I want to thank the homeowners for being engaged, stay engaged. Even if your elected official is mad with you, you need to stay engaged. I said it once and I say it again. Don't let them pimp you out because it's election time. They tell you all the sweet and good things, and they're gonna give you the caviar and everything. They're gonna pour the house you down. And yes, they're gonna give you your collard greens for Thanksgiving and churches. They're gonna give you that. But then after it's all said and done, they ain't gonna be bothered with you until they need you again. Please make sure that you'll pay attention to these elections. Get with your city councils, District 1, District 2, District 3, District 4. It's funny, all talking that I do, and I do a lot of talking, and my councilwoman has yet to call me. But it's okay, because I'm gonna constantly say what I got to say. And the ones that do call, they get mad and want to send me a nasty text and holler, but that's okay. Because when I stand before the people, it's for the people. I don't care about them. It's for these people. Again, I want to thank you guys. I want to thank my producer. Thank Representative Roger Bruce. The Honorable Roger Bruce. You can go back in your time and after we get done with this. Thank Representative Bazemore. Her colleague, the Fulton County delegation, don't get mad with her. Call me. Thank you, Reid. Thank you, Benny Crane. I want to thank the man of this house for allowing us to come into this house. I'm always going to thank the man of this house. And then when I get done thanking the man of this house, I'm going to thank the man of my house, the man that's always going to be behind me, even when he makes me mad and I make him mad. I know when I look behind me, he's going to be right there. I want to thank my husband. Thank you. Good night.